Hey folks, Wager Detective here. He's going to cap this game for you. The Central Michigan Chippewas versus the Kent State Flashes. If we look at the history here between these two teams, we can see that um, Kent State doesn't do good against Central Michigan. They're 2-5 all time, 1-3 at home, 1-2 on the road. And if we look at recent history, last year, or no, actually 2021 is the last time they played. Um, Central Michigan won 54-30. So not a really good standing for Kent State, but I tend to believe that this team is pretty decent. Now let's take a look at. I mean, the record doesn't show it, but they can still make the bowl. They're still bowl eligible. And we can see Central Michigan, they're going to get a bowl game no matter what happens for the rest of the year because they're 6-4, and even if they lose out, they're still going to get a bowl game. But let's take a look. Matt Drinkall's the coach over there. His first year um, as the coach at Central Michigan last year, and for many years at Central Michigan, it was Jim McElwain who was there from 2019 to last year where he had a bad year, and I guess Central Michigan fired him. He had a 4-8 record last year, but still pretty good in overall record for Jim McElwain. So a lot of experience there, and now this year you got the rookie head coach. You look at Central Michigan, not the best SRS, SOS, 98th in the nation, and I want to get into this by looking at their splits and see what they do. On the road this year, they are 2-4. Okay. Oh wait, that was last year. On the road this year, Central Michigan is 2-4, and if you look at their home and away splits, they throw the ball. They pass for passing yards almost 100 yards more at home than they do on the road. And you look at their rushing, they're like 100, practically 100 yards less on the road than they are at home. So take that into consideration. What have they done this year against the MAC? They're passing for in 6 games. They're passing for about 167 yards a game and giving up 198. Okay. Now, if we look defensively, what do teams do against them in the MAC? Um, they're giving up 195 yards passing a game, and they're giving up 145. So they're being rushed on more against the MAC, right? We know that they're not playing good on the road. This is going to be a road game, and they give up rushing 145. So they are better on the road against their opponents in the MAC rushing the ball. But total offense 365 to, and their defense is giving up 340. So teams can score on from the MAC when they are on the road. And let's take a look and see what Central Michigan has done this year as far as their schedule. Take a look, take a peek here. Okay, so last week they beat Buffalo, a team that's also playing tonight. And if you saw my previous video that I posted, I do like Buffalo plus 2.5 in that game. Buffalo had 5 turnovers in that game last week. If they could clean that up, I think they should be able to win that game outright. And the reason why that line, I don't know why it moved from Buffalo being favored to Miami, Ohio, especially with DeQuan Finn deciding that he's not going to play for the rest of the year because he's preparing for the NFL draft. So let's keep that in mind in this game. But back to this game, we look at what they do. They got 10 turnovers on the year on offense, primarily by putting the ball on the ground with 6 fumble losses. And look at this, though. Defensively, they could force teams to turn the ball over. Primarily last week, 5 of those 18 turnovers defensively for Central Michigan came against Buffalo. But they've had a number of games with 2 and 3. But if you look at who they're playing, UMass, not that real good. Bowling Green, they're not going to make a bowl game this year. UMass is horrible, 0-11. You lost to Central Western Michigan, who's 7-4, and now you're going to go to Kent State. Let's see what who's doing what for this team. Let's go into the stats here. Again, offensively, they are passing the ball for they're passing the ball 17 times a game, and they're rushing 43 times a game. So they're clearly a team that tries to run the ball more than they pass, right? They're attempting the rush 43 times a game and only passing the ball about 18 times a game. So that's a massive differential. You're running the ball 25 more times a game. If we look at what they do, first downs primarily coming through the rush with about 10 rushing first downs per game and 6.1 passing first downs on the game for their offense for Central Michigan. Joey Labus is the quarterback there. He has 10 touchdown passes with 4 interceptions. Nothing really stands out there. He doesn't really beat you with turnovers. He's only got 4 interceptions. And then on the ground, we look at what they do, and look at Angel Flores here. He's got eight rushing touchdowns of the 15 for them. You got a couple guys with 2, Brock Townsend and Nari Biggins, also on the ground there. But Angel Flores, I took a look at him earlier. He is a first-year junior with 8 touchdowns. I looked at his splits, see who those touchdowns came against, and you look at what he's done. He had 3 against Bowling Green, not a really good rushing defense. He had 1 last week against Massachusetts. They're not really good. And then he had 2 against Wagner in this game here. And Wagner, not an FBS team, so they could run, but I don't know if you're going to do that against this Buffalo defense that we'll get into in a little bit. So that's what they're doing on the ground. In receiving, they got 13 touchdown receptions, 3 from Brock Townsend, 3 from Langston Lewis. Those are the 2 guys there that are the top breadwinners as far as that. And then they got 28 touchdowns from scrimmage. On defense, they have 47 tackles for loss, 21 sacks, 6 fumble recoveries, and 9 forced fumbles. Okay, kicking returners, nothing really stands out there. Nari Biggins is 10 kick returns for 193 yards, 19.3 a carry there. Kicking and punting. Your field goal kicker, Cade Graham, he's 30 for 30 extra points, 13 for 15 on field goals, so he's 87%. He's contributed for 69 points for the team. And if we look at their punter, Declan Dooley, the primary punter, he's got 41 punts for about 39.9 yards per punt, which isn't really that great. Okay, so we went through their splits against for Central Michigan. They're not good on the road. They're 2-4, and MAC teams pretty much keep up the same amount of yards, total yards, when they play against MAC teams. So nothing stands out here as far as what they're doing. And then they got a rookie coach. Let's go and see. Let's take a look at this Kent State team. Kent State won me some money last week. I like this quarterback. And let's take a look at the coach. They also got a rookie coach, Mark Carney, in his first year. And as you see there, Kent State's 4-6. Now, if they win out, they get a bowl game. So motivation there is of epic proportions for Kent State. Let's take a look and see what they've done this year. They're alternating wins and losses their last 5 games. Win, loss, win, loss, win. Do they finally piece together 2 wins in a row? It could be interesting. It's not like Central Michigan is a team that can't be beat or that is tough. If we look at the SRS, not good, but their strength of schedule is clearly better than Central Michigan. Okay, and if we look at what they do, they have 18 passing touchdowns on the year, and they only got 7 rushing. But if you look at the rushing touchdowns, they've managed to get a rushing touchdown in their last 3 weeks. Bowling Green, Ball State, and Akron. I think that's a little bit recent form against teams that are better than what I think Central Michigan has seen over the last 3 weeks. They turned the ball over 10 times, so it's not bad. I mean, they're right there as far as turnovers. And let's see what they do forcing turnovers. They've only forced 8 turnovers. So we know Central Michigan forces a lot of turnovers for the defense, as we just said in the video prior to getting to Kent State. They're not really doing it, but they're -2 on the turnovers. And their turnovers are coming primarily 50-50, fumble loss and interceptions, 5 apiece there. Let's take a look. Anything stand out here? They did win an overtime game against Akron last week. And maybe that could carry over that momentum. You look at the week before that, they lost at Ball State by 4. But Ball State, if you look at them, they're not having the best year, but eh, you know, not a bad team. Akron 5-7. Kent State knocked them out of bowl eligibility last week with that win. If we look at, I'm going to take a look at their splits here and see what they do and what they're about as far as that concerned. Okay, they're obviously better at home. They're 3-1, 1-5 on the road. They're going to be in their environment where they play better. And if you look at what they do at home, they're better passing yards at home, and they're way better rushing the ball. Look at that. Look at the difference between the splits there. 128 yards rushing a game at home compared to 55-7 on the road. Very, very significant. And also in how they get first downs. They get more first downs at home than they do on the road. So very interesting. And against the MAC, offensively, they are okay. They're passing the ball for 219 yards a game, and they're rushing for about 105 for an average total offense of about 324 yards a game. So clearly in their environment. They're coming off a game where they had 5 turnovers last week. I got to think that they're going to be focused. As we said before, or no, this team didn't. I'm thinking of the other. I'm sorry, forgive me. I'm going back to the Buffalo game. Buffalo had 5 turnovers last week. That's another reason why I like them. I think they're going to turn it around. So scratch what I just said about the turnovers, and just keep going here. Now defensively, okay, they give up. Look at the difference there. At home, they're giving up 70 less passing yards a game. That's 7 first downs right there, and they're giving up like 60 plus yards less on the ground at home defensively. If we look at what they do against the MAC is passing the ball for 281 against them, and they're rushing for 122. So that's very, very interesting. And they're giving up first downs are primarily coming through the air against MAC teams when Kent State plays at home. So actually, they're doubling up. Teams are passing on the ball. But if we remember what we said about Central Michigan, they run the ball about 18 times more a game than pass. So you can deduce here that there's going to be some passing being done. They're giving up 281 a game, so should be interesting. Now, if we get into the stats for this 2025 team, dynamic, again, you look at them, they're giving up 197, they're giving up 268 yards a game, and they're only getting 197 passing. But that's the MAC and other conferences they played this year. You let's talk about that first of all. They're 97th SOS, so they played a stronger schedule. You played Texas Tech, you played Florida State, and you played Oklahoma. That's all factored into these stats, right? So you look at that 298 and you say, wow, they're good. But that's against teams. Look, they played 2 top 10 teams in the nation, and you played Texas Tech, who's one of the better teams at scoring in the nation. So you got to factor that into this game. Now, if we look at their quarterback, I want to get into this guy, Drew DeShields, 16 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions. So right there, he's better than Joey Labas for Central Michigan he leads the conference in yards per attempt, adjusted yards per attempt, yards per catch, ADOT's 14.8 and a 156.5 rating. He's having a pretty good year, and he's the reason why they won last week against Akron. He had a fantastic game against Akron. What do they do on the ground? They only got 7 rushing touchdowns. Drew DeShields got 2. Gavin Garcia is not bad. He's got 2. But they really get you through the air. 18 passing touchdowns. Cade Wolford's got 7 touchdowns. Deshaun Martin's got 3. Tariq Mulder's got 3. They can move the ball. Defensively, what do? Tackles for loss. 60 tackles for loss. They got 24 sacks, 5 interceptions, 3 fumble recoveries, and 7 forced fumbles. So pretty interesting. Look at this guy, Darylist Clark. He leads the conference with 2 kicking return touchdowns on the year. Very impressive. 15 returns for 435 yards, 29 yards per return. That's pretty solid. And then kicking, we got Will Hazurko, 27 to 27, and he's 5 for 7 for field goals, and he's got 42 points on the year. So I think their field goal kicker for Central Michigan's a little bit better. He's got more points on the year. They're both going to knock in the extra point. I think the extra point should be moved back. And then punting the ball, Charlie Durkins, 46 punts, only 41.3 yards per punt, which is doesn't sound great, right? Doesn't sound great. So we looked at the splits. We looked at what they're doing. They are still bowl eligible. They have to win out. And if you look at their schedule next week, they got to play, I believe, Northern Illinois. Yeah, they got to go to Northern Illinois. So if they win this game, and then they got to go to Northern Illinois, who's already out of bowl contention. They're 3-8. Okay, they should be able to go there and maybe get a bowl game. So the motivation is clearly on the side of Kent State here. Now I know they haven't played great. They're alternating wins and losses. They lost to Toledo. Toledo's a good team. Ball State, I'm going to take a look. I'm going to see, did they turn the ball over in that game? They had 1 turnover, and you only lost by 4. Okay, you lost to Toledo. I think Toledo's is the cream of the crop of the conference, if you're not mistaken. They're 6-4. Let me take a look at this MAC. I want to see who's... So Western Michigan, Ohio, Central Michigan. Central Michigan's still playing for something too. Let's not forget it, I guess. They're looking to win they're looking to play in that conference title game. And, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting look. But if you look at their SOS, out of all the teams that are at the top there, they got the second easiest schedule behind Akron in the conference, right? With minus 7.71. They're giving up 23 points a game. It looks like Western Michigan really is that team that's going to probably, if I was to look at them and, Western Michigan versus Toledo, I'm sure there's a couple tiebreakers in there. But again, back to this game, if I'm going to look at a team in this game, let's see what the line is as of right now. Kent State is plus 7.5, plus 250 on the money line. The over-under is 50.5. That looks a little high for me, but I think if it gets there, it's going to mean that Kent State is doing their thing. They got Cade Wolford, you got Drew DeShields, decent field goal kicker. You're at home. You're 3-1 at home, whereas Central Michigan's 2-4 on the road. You've played a tougher schedule. You played Florida State, Texas Tech, and I mean, who else? You've played the who's who of in the season. Florida State, Oklahoma. I mean, come on, and Texas Tech. And now you have the chance to really make it there. And that's why the point differential is so high. I mean, Texas Tech put up 62, Florida State put up 66. So outside of those games, and maybe even the Toledo game, they got crushed. I think 7.5 at home for a team that is playing really, really with inspired football after winning last week on the road and now coming home. I like it in the situation. And I'm going to make the call here. Central Michigan, Kent State plus 7.5. I got the better quarterback. I got motivation on my side. And I think they got guys that can move the ball on the ground enough for DeShields and Wolford and other guys over there to get the job done. So that's going to be my call here. Wager Detective is going to call Kent State plus 7.5 against Central Michigan. And if I was going to look at an over here, I would lean the under here. I know that I think this will be a tight game because actually Central Michigan's still in the hunt for the MAC title game. So they're right there at the top, lurking at the top. Guys might not want to make mistakes. You could see some turnovers here, especially if Kent State doesn't protect the ball. We've seen the fact that Central Michigan has forced teams into 18 turnovers this year, so Kent State's going to have to not turn the ball over, and they've done a pretty good job of that this year. Like I said, only 10 turnovers in all those games against some of the toughest competition, three of the toughest teams that anybody in this conference has seen all year. So give Wager Detective Kent State plus 7.5. It's 5:38 p.m. here in Atlantic City, November 19th, 2025, and that's the call. Kent State plus 7.5, lean under 50.5 here for Wager Detective. I'll talk to you soon.